Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is going to be a very special one. I'm joined by Olivier Grenon, also known as OG. So, before I even get into how I know you, I'll let you give a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Olivier, and basically living in Montreal, born and raised in Montreal here, and I am working currently full time business coach. I help entrepreneurs start their first businesses in a franchise model for residential painting. Outside of that, just love traveling, spending time with the family, the boys, my girlfriend. I have a beautiful girlfriend and a dog with her. And outside of that, I also am a co-founder of Separation Sunday, which is a fitness movement in Montreal where we host workout, massive events, have a bunch of fun. And traveler, investor, jumped in a few different projects here and there, but I'm definitely someone that's really busy with the joys of life, whether it's like pushing yourself into fitness, pushing yourself in business or in your personal life. But that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll start there.
Good start. So, I'm just going to give a bit of context like for my viewers because a lot of them are family, friends, and I'm sure they'd be like super interested to know how I know you. So, yeah, I guess for those of you that don't know, from 2022 to I believe 2023, I ran a painting and staining franchise here in Montreal. It was with Student Works Painting. And that was my first real experience running a business. You know, I've always been into entrepreneurship. Like in high school, I sold candy, I did drop shipping, like pretty much everyone else did. But that business of like the painting and the staining was my first real time. Like I had employees dealing with payroll, first time like a registered business.
Yeah.
And Olivier here was my business coach. So he's really the guy that made all of it possible. Taught me everything from sales, marketing, recruiting, and yeah, really just what it takes to run a successful business. So before we get into our experience together in Student Works, I actually want to talk about your journey through the Student Works program. So if you can rewind back to when you were joining the program, we'll start with what, like just talk about what drove you to sign up to Student Works and what were those like first couple months like?
Looking back at where I was when I was 19, I also had a drop shipping business.
Yeah.
My friend was a rapper and I wanted to be the manager. So I always had a vision to not do things the same way as everybody else. Like find a way to have our own lane, create our own vision, create our own basically like bubble. And the reason why is that we just felt like, when I say we, is like me and my close friends, we had big visions since we were young. We always felt that if we just like follow the clear path that's in front of us, I don't feel like the outcome is where I want to go. I want to have freedom. I want to be able to travel, have multiple kids, move around, have businesses, have a big life with a lot of different challenges. And that was a vision that probably started like 16, 17 years old, but there was no like actual thing that was going on. And then we started basically posting out some music. My friend was a rapper and I started this like drop shipping business and lost a bunch of money, had no idea what I was doing actually. Like it's just like trying to figure it out on YouTube and stuff like that. And I was in school at Concordia back in the day. I was never really someone that was like really interested in school too much or involved in school too much. I kind of like saw it as like, okay, like I have nothing better to do. That was kind of like my perspective. I had a lot of trouble with authority and teachers and people telling me what to do. I was kind of like a trouble kid in high school, trouble kid in Cégep. And then, well, I guess I'm going to go to university and see where that brings us. I'll try to go to management, at Concordia to one day learn how to manage people. Always had some pretty good communication skills and I was someone that was like pretty charismatic, but once again, didn't have the vehicle for it. And I will give big credit to Russ, the rapper. And I was listening to every single podcast episode from Russ. And for people who know who Russ is really strong with his mindset and visualization and setting yourself up for the life that you want. And that was really something that like, whoa, I've never heard that in a rapper. And I was, we were researching a bunch of rappers, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Eminem, etc. But Russ, I had something different around his vision, around what he wanted to create, around consistency, around actually inspiring people. And he inspired me so much that I was just taking his advice. And I read a few books that came from him, which were The Four Agreements, which is the first book I ever read on all personal development or whatever, which I learned a bunch. Amazing book. I would definitely recommend reading it. Super easy read. So already I've set myself up in like some type of a frame to like, oh fuck, like I think there's more possible out there. I was not tapping into my potential that much at work or at school. So I didn't really feel that much confident. Was not really going in the gym. Had good friendships, but we were like chilling in parks, rapping, smoking weed, playing video games. Nothing really too serious at that point. We're 18, 19 years old. Like I have a pretty good life, good family, but nothing great. I was not on the path of going anywhere great. And then I read from Russ that recommended also Think and Grow Rich. And the reason I'm saying that is that Think and Grow Rich makes you do a few exercises around putting a vision out there, writing down your vision. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what my vision is necessarily, but that was 2019. I was going to turn 20 years old in 2020. And that was like, oh fuck moment. I'm going to turn 20 years old. If I look from 15 to 20, am I proud of myself? No, like I'm really not tapping into my potential, and I'm starting to listen to like Jordan Peterson or like Ryan Holiday and people that were inspiring to me, and just taking their advice slowly and surely. And a lot of them would just say like to sit down and create yourself like a plan and a vision. And we did that with now no outcome. Just sat down and I wrote on my board. I was alone in my apartment. I was living in Verdun, Montreal, super small studio, like literally everything's in one room. And I did a board called 2020 Goals. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I started putting things on my wall. I wanted to make more money, find a job that was going to allow me to, I guess, improve myself. And parallel to that, I was going to school. And I was like, kind of fuck school. So I'm going to hire a tutor to do my homework. And I even had tutors like fucking do exams and stuff like that. I don't know if I should probably not say that. I'm not going to name any names. Yeah. But the reason I'm saying that is that tutor sent me an email one day. And I opened it because I trusted them. And the email came from Student Life Network, which is basically like a network that sends emails and newsletter and stuff to students. And that network said, start your business or management, summer business. Like didn't really have a name, kind of look a little bit sketchy. Was not sure what it was, but I was seeing like where people ended up and people in suits, young people that look sharp. I was like, you know what? Like I'm just going to click on it and kind of see what happens. And it's all in that same probably like month and time frame. I started like putting a vision out there, telling myself I really want to change. I'm tired of like being fucking low, smoking weed, eating like not good food, not taking care of myself. So I was not proud. I believe at that time I just broke up with my girlfriend, just moved into my new apartment, university. Like it's a new change. I wanted to like actually step up from 2020 to 2025. The vision was I'm going to work my ass off. I have to find something to work my ass off. As soon as I started putting that out there, like I got a call one day from this guy called Lucas, who was a business coach or a district manager at Student Works, explained to me that I had wrote my name up into this email and there was an info session next to Concordia in person to go see what it was all about. I'm like, oh shit, let's go. Okay, sounds good. Called up one of my friends, invited him to come with me at the info session, and it was at like 3:30 sharp. And if you were a minute late, you were not going to get in. So I was like, oh my God, okay, let's go. Like I got there on time. My friend showed up at 3:32, didn't get in the door. And I knew that he was right out there, but like, I'm not going to leave and go get him. Like there's this info session. It's like a 15-minute info session walking you through what is the business model, the Student Works Management Program. They basically teach students how to run a painting business. And then they start showing you the stats. They're going to teach you door to door, teach you sales, teach you management, have employees. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? This is it. This makes so much sense. I'm just going to go to school and run a painting business, and they'll show me exactly what to do. And I'm going to have a one-on-one mentor that's going to be able to help me through every single path of the way. Okay, I go to, actually, at that time, my friend that was out there was like doing research on the company. He was texting me, oh, don't do this. It's a scam. Like you shouldn't do that. Don't trust them, etc. I'm like, okay, I take it with a grain of salt. But there was a second info session where I went to, which was basically Lucas, that person, looking sharp, great communication skill. The guy's like, whatever, 24, 25 years old. I was like really inspired by the presence this guy had, the communication skill this guy had, the experience he seemed to have. And he was also a student at Concordia, and he ran his painting business for a couple of years. Gave a big 2-hour info session, went through that. And I was like, I think this is it. I'm going to apply. Well, turns out I applied, did the interview process, and I got hired that year. super nervous. I still have a video in that interview process that I was sending to my parents, like, hey, like, I think I'm going to get in. Like, I told them I read books. Like, I think this is a good opportunity. I told them I ran a business before, ran a business, and I got accepted. And that moment totally threw my life off on a different path. That was the path that I'm on today, still to this day. And it's just really crazy that when I look back, how a small action or a compound of small actions bring you to a certain outcome. And when I look back and I explain that story, even me thinking about it, I don't think it's like luck, or I don't think it's just random. I think things happen for a certain reason. And if you saw where my life was and who I was hanging out with and what I was doing with my time and my self-talk, and as soon as I decided to put it out there that I want to change and I want to do something better for my life, things started happening. And that was like, for me, the first door that opened to eventually this big journey in Student Works. But that's really like the little story about how things went from alone in my apartment, almost depressed, smoking weed, playing video games, to, okay, now we're January 2020 and I have a painting business.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with that? And that's kind of how things got in.
Cool. Honestly, like I relate a lot to your story. I feel like it's the times when you have like the most discomfort, you're like least happy with your surroundings, with yourself, is like when you're most likely to take change and take things to the next level. At least that's what I felt personally.
Like having to go and have pain to be able to change.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I was almost at the point where you're almost like, you're tired of being tired. Like sometimes you're just tired of like whatever life and what you're doing. But then I got to a point where I'm just tired of being tired. Like what the fuck? Where's my life going to go in 2030 if I keep on that path? Fuck, it's totally not going where I want to go. And I think that's really the realization that made me want to basically change at that point. Yeah.
Okay. And now, so you signed up to the program. Can you give us like a rundown of how that year went for you?
Yeah. So I have a switch that happened at that point around just like self-confidence of like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like I'm not going to fuck around. Like I'm going to do this and I want to do my best and I want to be part of the best. There's going to be a leaderboard. There's going to be a bunch of people I'm going to compete against. And I was playing sports when I was younger. And I asked my coach, do I need to be in school to do this? Just checking in. He was like, well, not really. Like you're in school right now, you're a student, but you don't like need to be. So I was just like, okay. And I realized, I'll come back to that a little bit later. I realized why I asked that question. But that was like the first question I asked my coach. Got in. I was like, okay, let's go. Like, I want to run $100,000 business. I didn't know it was $100,000. I didn't know that would be possible or what that looked like, what that seemed. But slowly and surely, they start giving you more and more information about how it works, how we're going to go and get leads. Like there's a step-by-step process, literally walking you through exactly how to go from $0 to $100,000 or however. There's no ceiling. The biggest business you want to run, you can go do whatever you want. So I was like, okay, we'll put $100,000 as my goal. We broke it down into weekly actions, what I need to do exactly, X, Y, Z. I'm going to make it happen. Started calling everybody I knew around me to get some help because you have to start doing door-to-door in -20 in January. So I had my brother, my best friend, his brother, and another one of my friends from high school that were willing to come and help me do door-to-door for this painting business. So I was like, we're taking over the world. Like that's literally what's going to happen. Like, and I told my coach, I'm going to be the best guy in Quebec. Like I want to be the number one guy. Like I really wanted to utilize that and kind of prove myself, but also prove to my family and my parents that maybe I seemed like I was a little bit of a bum or fucking around, but I have something inside of me that I want to put out in the world. Like I had almost a chip on my shoulder for myself and also for my parents because I was not that great in school and like there was issues there with authority and stuff like that. So we get to Ottawa, which is like the annual training where we start 3 days. They teach you exactly the door-to-door, the marketing, the sales, recruiting your own employees, etc. And there's like a end of training ceremony where veteran operators, second, third year business owners go and talk about their goals for the second year, goals for the third year. I just remember having full goosebumps in my body, like, oh my God, this is like a fucking calling. I remember seeing Hugo Geoffroy, who's now one of my good friends and partners, breaking his board. He had like a $200,000 goal. I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. People that are like, they're in shape, they're running a business, they seem like they're crushing life. And that's really like who I wanted to become. And yeah, ran my business, started off the gates super strong. I had 3 people with me in door to door. So we just knocked on so many doors that first week that I had enough leads to start sales like early on, because normally it takes maybe a couple of weeks to get results in marketing and then you start your sales. I was the first person out the gates, like first night doing door to door. My first session solo alone, I had 14 leads in like 3 hours. And I thought you had to get 1 per hour. So I was like ecstatic. Oh my God, like this is like really good momentum that was getting built. Turns out I was the first guy in the company to sell that year as a rookie. So I was week 2 and I was number 1 on the leaderboard in Canada. And that really gave me another kick, boosted my ego definitely of like, oh my God, like I'm number 1. Now the game has switched. They have to chase me. There's, I don't know, 150 other people running businesses and it's my face on the leaderboard that everybody can see every day, the number 1 guy. And that really gave me a big push to, once again, double down in door to door, double down in my sales. Got a lot of coaching, so much help from Lucas. I would call him every single day to just ask questions about painting, ask questions about sales, about life, about personal development, started reading sales books and momentum. So that's really what happened from like January to March. I think I sold like $50,000 in those first 3 months. And my idea was like to show my parents that this works so I can drop out of school and just run a business. Because I was like, why am I going to do a year in economics to maybe learn management the year after if I can just run a business and just manage and actually do it? So that idea was kind of like in the back of my mind, but then COVID happened. So that was March 2020. So we got shut down for like a month and a half during COVID. So there's no more door to door, no more sales. Like the bubble kind of popped about momentum. Like, geez, like I'm at like whatever, $55,000, but we don't know what's going to happen. Is this business going to run? Everybody's kind of tripping about what's going to happen with COVID. So definitely kind of threw us off a little bit with the momentum that I had built. But coming out of that, I hadn't done that much work. Like I'm almost like, kind of like, okay, like it got to my head that I was really good and I stopped working as hard or doing the things that got me there in my first year. So now we're like in the month of May where the world like opened up again. We could start painting houses. So we started painting houses, but one of the issues is that my best friends were my painters and I was staying with them on job sites, painting with them, helping them a bunch and stuff. But if the owner operator is painting, who's doing the sales? Who's doing the administration? Who's doing the owner operator task? No one was doing it. And basically my business capped at that point. And I fell in something called like the production trap, where like I'm so busy running production that I'm not selling. I'm not growing the business. I'm not hiring more people. Since I'm not hiring more people, as soon as I had 2 people quit, then I'm stuck with 1 team, a bunch of jobs to do. So I should probably just paint so it goes faster instead of like taking a break, hiring more people, setting up better structures and systems. So I basically got trapped in myself painting my own jobs with my friends that summer. And I had sold, I think it was 75 grand before June 1st. And I had a really challenging season in terms of like issues on job site, challenges with customers, challenges with employees, always being so busy, but not really being any productive looking back now. not productive at all. I was not following the systems. I was following the systems in the beginning of the year for sales, but for how to run and manage production, you've gone through it. It's really easy to fall in a trap where you're just so busy and it feels like it's over-consuming your whole life. And then it was also COVID, so I was spending weekends at the cottage, drinking and partying, kind of like we're not really supposed to, hang out with friends and stuff like that. And that just basically lost my momentum. And I went from being number 1 on the leaderboard to slowly and surely people started passing me because they built their momentum in the summer while I was losing mine. And I ended the season at $85,000 of sales, number 31 on the leaderboard. No, there's the number 1 to 30, you can see them. I was not even on the leaderboard. And that really affected my confidence, just like, fuck. Like I thought I had it and I almost gave up. And that internal feeling was terrible. Because I was like, well, in the end of the day, I'm doing really good. I'm running a business. I'm super proud. I'm super grateful. Like there's so many great things, but there's something that like is still missing. I feel like I didn't put it all on the table. And that's really the feeling I left my first season with. I decided to not go back to school after COVID. So it was like March, April, lockdown, school went back online. I moved back to my mom's house to run my business from there. And I showed my mom, here's my sales. I have contracts with real money, real deposits, like over 50 grand in 3 months. I'll make you a promise that I'm not dropping out of school to whatever. Like, I'm dropping out of school so I can double down on this business. And next year, I want to beat the record in Quebec. I'm going to run the biggest business possible. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to work on myself. Here are all these books I'm reading, all these podcasts I'm listening to. I have a vision now. This is real now. I have employees that want to come back with me next year. I have real clients. This is not an idea anymore. Now we have an actual structure and a model, and I have a business coach who's now becoming closer and closer as a friend of mine because we speak almost every day, getting so much advice. I have mentorship. That's my teacher. And that's where I'm going to go and get my education, is learn by myself a bunch online, read a bunch of books, learn from the best people out there. And I'm going to utilize this vehicle to prove and to make you guys proud. I'm going to make it happen. And it was a tough conversation, definitely. I remember my mom crying. I was crying. Weren't really sure what was going to happen. You know, like you've put in so much money for your kids to go to school and stuff like that. It's pretty scary. Like what happens if this doesn't work? What happens if I lose a bunch of money? This business thing doesn't work. And that was kind of the goal. I didn't have any plan B. It had to work. There was no other choice. And that was really what kept me going at that point of like, oh, now there's no excuses. I can't blame it on school or I blame it on X, blame it on Z. No, it's 100% on me. And I went from number 1 to finishing number 31. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with that? And I would say like that was a massive realization in 2020. I'm still pretty immature at that point. You know, I'm 20 years old, not really knowing myself really well, etc. And there was definitely a big journey. I guess I can just walk you through in a short way the journey from 2020 to 2021, because I think that was like the biggest jump. I went to Mexico for a month during that time, again, during COVID. So I spent 4 weeks in Tulum with my friends and spent just the most amount of time doing nothing, reflecting, planning, reading books, podcasts. My friend's like super spiritual also. We were meditating, creating a vision. I had a vision to run a $250,000 business next year, like triple the business or whatever. So scared. Oh my God. But the lessons I realized from the books I was reading is that your business is a reflection of you. You're going to get what you deserve. If I am a man that puts his skills and his expertise and his time, he's going to track basically he's going to track what's deserved to him. And that was kind of like my vision of like, I'm not going to try to run a $250,000 business. I'm going to become a man that runs a $250,000 business with my habits, with my work ethic, with my relationships, with my communication. Then I did this course called Landmark, which is a personal development course that really blew me away about like all the stuff I haven't dealt with in my past that I didn't really know about. Like huge breakthroughs with my relationships and my family and my overall integrity. And the biggest realization I've had from that point is that it's going to be about my integrity. If I do what I said I was going to do, I'm going to hit my goal, because I need to hit that many doors, that many phone calls, that many customers. If I do that many appointments, I will have an average of that much sales, and it's a numbers game. But the challenge was to be, am I going to be able to be in integrity? So that's where like I started calling all the best people out there from Student Works, building my network with veteran operators, getting their advice, asking for so much coaching, did Landmark, continued like reading books, podcasts, getting into fitness and working out a lot more. And there was Amr, who was a veteran operator who just did like 500K a couple years before in Student Works, who came on to one of the trainings that we had. And basically the whole idea was why you should add 50 or add $100,000 to your goal. And it was such a good conversation, a good presentation. I was like, fuck, I'm going to go for $300,000. Oh my God. So ran the numbers again, exactly all the KPIs that I needed to hit to do that. And that was going to be the vision for 2021. I'm going to put the Quebec on the map. I'm going to run a $300,000 business. I'm full time into this. And this year will totally change my life forever. I want to make $100,000. I'm 21 years old. This is crazy. And then we jumped into 2021. And once again, the realization was have a good plan and follow the plan. And that's what we did. Hired 3 times more painters, started posting on social media. Everybody knew I was running a business. Everybody knew I was going to run a $300,000 business. It was all over my apartment, all over my walls. That was the vision. We're going to do $300,000 this year. And once you have a vision out there and you have so much conviction, people are attracted to that. It's inspiring. So I started hiring better quality employees. People start bringing their friends. This person's like, oh, I want to work with him. Oh, I want to work with him. Like Olivier is like so inspiring. He has like a big vision, etc. So, well, we made it happen, man. We ran a fucking $300,000 business in 2021.
That's crazy.
Which was like, okay, I have something inside of me. I knew it. The feeling that I had a year and a half ago when I was like writing all these goals and reading Think and Grow Rich in the Metro, going to Concordia, I knew it. There was something there, and that's really the moment where I was like, when you put out something in the world, you can accomplish whatever you want. But I was hearing that on podcasts. People were saying that, but I was like, I never felt it. Doing something that I never thought would be possible, that was not done in the Montreal GMA area before. Man, I did it. And the level of confidence and the level of trust you have in yourself once you accomplish something that difficult, I think you can't go back. Once you see that and you feel that and you realize that, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you realize those things, man, my life was changed forever. Like that was now the goal. Like what's next? Finding new ways to push yourself, finding new ways to develop skills that I wanted, attract better people in my life, better habits, bigger goals, etc. I was like, damn, like if I do this for an extra couple of years, I can maybe buy real estate. I can like have actual money. I can invest my money. I was broke. My mom gave me money my first year to help me run this painting business. Like I can set my whole life up. I have amazing friends that run businesses, and that whole compound effect of all of that together was just such a beautiful bubble. And I was just like so grateful. And my mindset changed to going from it's about me and my goals to it's going to be actually about leadership. It's going to be about helping other people have the same basically journey or a same realization that I've had, and help them as much as Lucas has helped me. Because without him, none of this would be possible. And I'm forever grateful for that relationship with him. And I think I want that. I want to help other young people get what I get. Because I was not anywhere someone special or had any experience or any special or magical ways at all. But I just ran a $300,000 business. Like this totally proves something. First of all, Student Works is an amazing program. They know what they're doing. And it's insane that this is even possible for students to do. Second of all, that when you do put your mind into something and you improve your life from within, it's going to start impacting different areas of your life. You're going to have some changes as long as you're in integrity with what you set your mind to. So that was kind of like the recap from going from my first year to now ending my second year. Made a lot. I didn't make $100,000. Like totally did not manage my financials well that year, but it was not about the money. It's about what was inside here. And then I couldn't go back from there. That was really the journey.
Before we continue on to like you transferring or becoming a coach, you mentioned something earlier where like going back to when you were considering dropping out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a lot of friends right now who are, in university, but they're just not happy like with the classes that they're taking with their program, and they're actually very much considering like, should I drop out?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for people in that camp?
Yeah, the thing I would be careful with, and I've had conversations with a bunch of operators that were like in a similar situation like that were debating like, oh, why am I here? What do I want to do, etc. And what I would want to avoid is just like dropping out to drop out, and then what? You know what I mean? and then you're going to figure out what you want, and then you're going to wait for a new thing to happen or a new opportunity. And I think before even, let's say, making that decision, is there things that you can improve about your life and things that you can start working on that would put you in a better situation, whether it's financially, where do you work? What's your job? What do you do day to day outside of school? Your health and fitness, your relationships. What are you consuming online? Are you reading books? Are you listening to videos? Are you just watching shows? Are you consuming drugs, alcohol, whatever it is? Like, I would go and do kind of like a self-reflection exercise and asking myself, let's just isolate each areas of my life and go see where I can actually have an impact. Because dropping out of school won't necessarily solve the problem. Is the problem actually school? What is the problem? I would ask myself these types of questions because sometimes it's really easy to pinpoint and being like, oh, if I change school, then everything else is gonna get fixed. I actually think it would be probably the other way around. It has to start within. And once you start, taking the right steps in the right direction, you're probably gonna find a lot of answers, first of all, within yourself, what you want, what you like, what you don't like as much. Are you actually working your hardest right now in what you're doing at work? Are you working your hardest at school to, while you're there, actually do your best? And a lot of times it's kind of like procrastination and I don't really want to be here, but I'm still really here, but you don't really understand why you're there. So there's definitely some questions to ask yourself about, like, okay, let's say like hypothetically, you can't drop out of school. You need to do this. How can you do it in a way that you can look at it from a positive perspective? What are you learning? What can you get out of it? Are you meeting friends? What can you ask better questions to your teachers? Like, how can you utilize that in a positive way? Let's say you couldn't. And then the other hypothetical is like, let's say you aren't in school. What would that look like? Do you even have a plan? And that was really what my mom taught me at that point of like, you're not just going to like drop out of school and then figure it out. Like, I don't necessarily think that would be the best thing for you. You have to be careful with that because if you don't change your habits, you're still going to be the same person, but now with no school. So I would probably want to look at what could we change about ourselves? Why do we even want to change? Or what's the thing holding us back? Have conversations with people that are, in places where you want to be and see what their journey is and what they've learned and what they got of where they are. But what I personally discovered for myself is like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And from the people I've looked at and the type of life I wanted, a lot of entrepreneurs went through that path. And I could have recognized myself in these people, but I did not recognize myself in the way they treated their body, treated their mind, treating their health, and treated their relationships. I just recognized myself that I wanted to drop out of school. But these people didn't just drop out of school and not go work on all these areas. They're outworking me in all these areas. So that was kind of like the realization I've had before even making the decision to drop out of, I want to drop out if it makes sense that I have a plan and I'm going to have a good path toward where I want to go. I didn't really know where I wanted to go, but I knew that it was important for me to work extremely hard, be well surrounded, and basically take steps in the right direction, which I knew like if I have good values and I'm doing things that are aligned with my values, slowly and surely you're going to figure out your life out. So that's what I would say, but I would also probably want to have a conversation with the people around them and see like kind of like an analysis of, hey, Jad, like, me in that situation, for example, like if I was going to leave, what could you see me doing? And just like kind of gathering a little bit of information from people around you. Your parents sometimes will give you advice, but also your parents might think that the only way is that way. They might be right. They might be wrong. It kind of is a conversation to have with them. I'm really glad my parents were open-minded. They were not open-minded at the start, but once I started improving my life, they're like, okay, like there's something there. He's not going to be a failure. My parents wanted me to go to school, to get education, to get a good job, to be safe, to have a good life. They worked so hard to get me in a place where I could go to university. And I'm not just going to throw that out in the garbage and do nothing great with my life. If I'm going to make that move, my decision is to make sure that what my parents sent me to school for is going to get accomplished. I'm going to have a great life, a great impact, a great family, amazing values. And that was the decision that I had to make before even thinking about dropping out of school. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. Like what I think with dropping out of school is you're suddenly just going to get so much free time on your hands. And if you have the wrong habits in place, you're just at home smoking weed, watching sports all day, like on the TV, you're just going to feed in more time into those bad habits.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, if you have something going for yourself and you need more time to feed into that, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
The other thing I would add to that is also just the power of mentorship, of whatever type of mentorship it is that would work for you, whether it's like, I don't know, like a business leader or a teacher or your sports teacher, let's say join a boxing club, and there's coaches out there and people that have wisdom and people that have what you want. And that's really something that helped me, because I was not really inspired by my teachers. I didn't feel, there's some teachers that did fully inspire me, that was like, wow, like amazing impact. But I didn't feel like the energy around me was something that was empowering to me. And I'm really glad I found StudentWorks that has literally a program with mentorship built in. But there's so many areas in this day and age where you can go and find people that are willing to help you, that are willing to mentor you or give you some advice or give you some book recommendations. There's literally like millions of hours online of content to help you do whatever you want, realistically. So with the self-reflection that we were talking about, let's find an area that is interesting to you, whether that's content, whether that's sports, whether that's fitness, whether that's whatever, cars, whatever it is, something that you would be willing to work hard in and you're passionate in. And let's go find someone that's doing that. And maybe let's go talk to that person, and start putting yourself in environments where your life might get you closer to where you want to go. And if you don't know, then I would think, like, if I give you all the time in the world, what would you do on Thursdays during the day? Oh, like, I love watching sports. Give that example, for example. Okay, cool. Like, could we maybe join another sports club? Can we find a way to put yourself in a situation with people that are like similar to you, and slowly and surely create an environment that's going to be bringing you slowly and surely. It's not going to be big steps, but like slowly and surely bringing you closer to something that you like, to where you want to go. And just by doing that reflection in these types of actions, you're already in a better spot that you were yesterday. And the whole idea is just literally that if every day I'm in a better spot than I was yesterday, the progress is insane. There's literally no ceiling. Yeah.
Cool. Before we talk about our experience together in StudentWorks, is there anything else you want to mention about your time as a coach? And as well, you told me now you're head of business development at StudentWorks.
Yeah.
Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah. So after realizing the impact I wanted to have on people, kind of like what Lucas had as an impact on me, there's one key person in my business in 2021, one of my good friends, Lucas Bono, who in 2020, in the end of the summer, when it was a shit show, he came out to help me for free to paint, because he knew how to paint. His dad was a painter. And he's like, don't even pay me. I'm just doing this to help a brother out. Like, we were friends since we're 12 years old. And that year in 2021, he was my manager. He ran my job sites, dealt with problems, and was literally the man behind production. I hired him. We were partners in that business. We did 300K. I was not alone. I had a team. And he was a core piece of that team. I need to give him so much credit. He trusted me. He trusted the vision and worked harder than he's ever worked before. And that created a lot of momentum. And then I applied to become a coach that year, 2022. And I was going to be, it's called a mini coach. So basically, I had a business again for my third year, but I was coaching 4 people. And he was going to be one of those 4 people. And the vision that year was that, hey, you had all this experience being a core piece of a 300K business. We're going to make sure you're on the leaderboard too. You have something in you also. When I was smoking weed when I was younger, it was with him. We were the guys fucking around at school. We were the guys not really taking it seriously. He like had a weird path with school, was like in and out and changing CEGEPs a bunch of times, like also lost. But we found each other and we found a vehicle that could help us. And that was like my new gift, was that he is going to be the next, like my protege or whatever, how you want to call it. Like, we'll make sure that he really wins. I'm going to put in so much effort. And there was him that basically went in and run his business that year in 2022. He did like $210,000 in his first year, which was like, whoa. And out of the 3 other guys that I had, there was also Etienne, Brisson, who I found on LinkedIn that year. I was doing cold outreach on LinkedIn, 100 messages a day, every single day, and like answering DMs. And I found this one guy who was an Amazon driver who was a pilot before, dropped out of pilot school, is now at Bishop's in Sherbrooke. He just moved to Sherbrooke from Montreal. He doesn't know anybody there, but he also had a really big vision. And he was going to be another one of like the first guys I ever coach. And he also, I think, sold, I know, over $250,000 that first year. There's some jobs that we had like traded and gave away. But two of these guys, my first year coaching, were like top notch. And there was another guy, Justin, who was 17 years old. And I was coaching another guy, Alexis, who was 27. And that was my first team ever of like a business coach. And these four guys together did like something like $650,000 of revenue in their first year. So what made that is, once again, the vision that we have, the team, the culture that we built. We all work super hard. We call each other every day. And I really fell in love with that aspect of like, everything I've learned, all the mistakes I've made, I'll just give it to you so you learn from it and you do better. And you do better. And you guys got this through so much confidence, so much help. Because I was like, that's what Lucas did to me. And yeah, we created an all-star team, and I won that year the Business Coach of the Year award. And I decided the following year to come back as a full-time business coach, and my job, paying 100% commission, is going to be to teach 15 students how to run a painting business. And that's the year that we started working together in 2023, where, yeah, I think that was it, like 15 people, had a bunch of first-year operators, had a few veteran operators also that year. That was their second year. Like all those guys, it was their second year and working with me in their business. Plus, I had a bunch of first-year operators, and that was another big change because I had moved out of my parents' house that year to come and live in Montreal at the apartment basically of my coach, Lucas. And that was like a next big path of like going from not running a business anymore. You guys are running the businesses, and my job is to basically help you do what you said you were going to do. And the biggest hack I've realized is that we're getting paid to improve ourselves. I think that's crazy. That if you have better habits, better relationships, a better mindset, amazing health, I'm going to run a better business. I'm going to get paid for it. And that was like the like, oh shit moment that I've had, starting putting a lot more work into personal development, a lot more work into my actual fitness, wanting to be in shape, sleep good, meditate, get into ice baths. I was doing ice baths every single day because now I was the leader of a team. I don't have a business. So the business is basically coaching these businesses to help them run the best business possible. I'm now literally getting paid to be the best leader possible. And I thought that was so cool that the more value I give, the more value I get. And that's where I started, once again, just dumping so much value and information in these students, and the ice baths and the culture and the challenges we were doing and the communication. I'm just so committed to helping them accomplish their goal because I know the impact that had on my life. And I know it's possible. Like, we have literally the stats. I've done it. If I can do it, you can do it, bro. And that was really that mindset in 2023. Had a great season that year again. Did not make it too long. Came back in 2024, again as a full-time coach, but with more veteran operators. So took the business to a whole other level, like somewhere around $2.5 million in revenue now in student painting businesses in Montreal, which is just incredible to me. But what made it grow that much is that people started talking to people. I started posting a lot more online and sharing like, hey guys, look at what we're doing. Like, this is actually pretty crazy. So people from my high school started reaching out. Friends of friends started bringing people in. We had a lot more referrals, and this whole like student works thing was actually working. A lot of us, not just were, whatever the revenue we were doing, it's not about the revenue. We were improving our lives all together, created new friendships with people that all had a similar mindset, that wanted to help each other out, that wanted to be there for each other, and that we're all doing the same thing so we could relate through the highs, through the lows. When there's a tough day, you could always call someone. You always had someone in your back that was there to just help you. And that to me was really cool. We created a family in that moment. So came back 2024, had another amazing season in 2024. And I wanted to like level up again in terms of what's possible and like what's next in Student Works. And I became a senior business coach in 2025, where Lucas and Etienne, well, they came back for a second year, became top performers as veterans. And their third year, they were now coaches in the program. So they had their own team of business owners that they were showing how to run a business. I had my own team also of business owners, but I was coaching them to coach their team, basically. So that's kind of like the senior business coach level, where you just have like more directors or general managers, we'll call it, under you. And that really, once again, opened up my eyes at the level at which I need to operate right now, and the amount of responsibility on my shoulders is insane. But once again, to be able to accomplish what I want to accomplish, there's a straight up game plan. There's all the systems I need. I have so much help, so much support from Student Works. I'm starting to get better relationships with the head office, with the vice president, Patrick, who is now my coach, because Lucas decided to leave that year to go travel in Asia. So basically, there's another full-time coach that left, and it opened up the door for me to basically like step up in the company and become one of the senior guys in Quebec. But my voice and the vision that I created 3, 4, 5 years ago in 2021, 2022, that energy, that charismatic energy that I was bringing to the table was making a lot of noise. People were loving it. People were really attracted to someone being so passionate about what he was doing, someone being so excited to help guys sell some painting contracts. But it's not about the painting. And it was never about that. It was always about what we're creating and the community we're building and the impact we're having on people's lives. And that's really the vision I've had, that I've built over the last couple of years. And then this year, 2025, I was kind of debating on leaving. I was like, okay, like I've been doing this for 5 years now. I've coached coaches, operators. I've had marketing teams. We just finished with $3.5 million in revenue this year in 2025. So much success, amazing. I was able to jump into real estate also with a few colleagues of mine from Student Works. But they gave me the opportunity there was like this new role that got created, which is head of business development, which is you're now literally implicated in making company-wide changes, improvement of systems, improvement around culture, improvement about social media presence. The French curriculum in Quebec was a big thing. This is an English company. We have a lot more French people now. Most of people in Quebec are French speaking first, so we have to optimize the systems to have them scale their business. And I really love the idea of doing another year with my veteran operators. First thing is just like the amazing relationships I built with these guys. They're literally like family. Like we speak so often. We're all still working so hard, but learning so much and making such good money and building such good relationships. And we're literally setting ourselves up for life all together. We've been together for 3, 4, or 5 years. Like people that say that were there with you when you started. We were talking about it earlier. Like we'll call it Aris and Fred and Sam. Like people were coming back and coming back. And I realized like they're coming back because of what's created in this team. It's not about me, but about what we're able to facilitate all together. We're a part of something bigger than us. And I really love that vision of coming back in 2026 to take that to another level and really have a word of how this company as a whole, Student Works, was going to continue growing and continue having a massive impact on leadership and entrepreneurs in Quebec, in Ontario, in the Maritimes. And I've now set myself up to have a really good spot or a good position, we'll call it, in that company, that like if I have ideas and I want to try some stuff out, they're so willing. They want to give people the chance to learn. They want to give people a chance to grow, to make mistakes, etc. So I've gotten so much support and love from Student Works that it also feels like a family on that end. And I get a lot of coaching, a lot of help, and I'm still really far from where I want to go. And that was kind of like the vision in the last couple of years, was finding new ways to make this exciting. And that was through the vision of literally developing a generation of entrepreneurs and be able to do so with the community and with the vehicle of Student Works. And that to me is amazing. I think it's going to be written in some books in the future, or we'll call it like what's going to be written in the history books, because I do believe the people that were created, let's say like you, for example, we've stayed connected over the years. Where are we going to be in 20 years? I don't know, but I know it's going to be somewhere amazing. And there's going to be more and more and more of us that we're running this business together when we were young, figuring out our first entrepreneurship journey. But that's going to create partnerships in the future. That's going to create relationships in the future. That's going to create the life I've dreamed of. And that was just such a beautiful realization when I realized that, yeah, I have my spot here. I've created my spot here. I've earned my spot here. And now my role is to help people become, once again, better versions of themselves, run better businesses, improve their skills, and hit their goals.
Dude, yeah, I'm fired up. It's crazy. Yeah. Sick. So yeah, now I'd like to talk about, I guess, like our experience together. But I'm actually really interested to hear it from your perspective. You know, it's been, I think, 2-3 years now. Yeah. So it'd be cool like to get your view, like going back. I guess we'll start right when I joined it. So just for context, I was at Queen's University in 2022. So I had just moved from Dubai. I did my high school in Dubai, and then I went to Queen's. So I did my first year there. And yeah, same thing. I was I was hanging out with my friends, but I also knew I wanted to do something more, just like other than just going to school, going to lectures, doing exams. So, I started searching online, trying to see what I could do in the entrepreneurship space. And again, I saw the info session. So I'm not going to run through like signing up because it's honestly a very similar path that you took. Yeah. What I wanted to ask you is like, you can be very honest here. What were your initial thoughts when you first met me and like I got admitted into the program and we got connected?
So I think back, there's definitely a few things that come to mind in terms of initial thoughts. I was really interested into how was this even going to work? You were living in Kingston. You don't have a car. Your family's not here. You're like kind of like alone in this. You don't have like a strong foundation in Montreal, a bunch of people necessarily there with you. Like from my experience, didn't see a lot of people in your shoes having a lot of success, because I was like, oh my God, like how I got success is like, I had my brother that helped me. My parents were supporting me. My dad gave me this. My mom gave me this. I could use their car. And I just remember looking from like zero emotional, just very logical standpoint, like, wow, okay, that's going to be a tough one. But I remember from early on conversations with you and actually getting to know you, you were, a little bit shy, kind of like not really speaking up your mind that much. That was definitely something I was like, okay, I think he's also going to struggle maybe in sales or doing door to door. Oh my God. But from getting to know you, I realized that you did have some type of mindset. We did have a lot more things in common that I thought. We had some similar interests about taking care of yourself and mindset and business. Oh, this guy's not stupid. Like this guy actually has something in mind. You had a vision about how you're going to go to school in kinesiology and then start opening these things. And then you had like contacts in Dubai. And I remember like, I was like, oh, like I don't fully understand exactly what's going on, but I do believe that this guy has something in him. Let's just help him and get this motherfucker going. I think like if he just works super hard, he's gonna probably like put his face on the wall a few times, hit a few challenges. But you were telling me you were watching like Iman Gadzhi a bunch in that time, and I remember you telling me that, and I was like, okay, like if this person is sitting down on his own personal time and watching like personal development and has inspirations and has some type of vision, that's going to show up in how he works. I remember that clearly. It's not just about like how he looks or how he speaks or how he's perceived. There's something in there. And we created a game plan of how we're going to make it work. Okay, we're going to come back to Montreal, go back and forth, take the bus, study on the bus, get a rental car to run your business. And you were just like, it was not a problem for you. I remember you being like super open-minded, like, yeah, okay, sure. Okay. Like what else? What are we going to do? How are we going to make it work? And I really, I really remembered you just being willing to give yourself the chance to actually see, am I capable of doing this? Can I run a business? And the answer was, yeah, you totally could have run a business because you had, once again, something in you. I'm curious to know like what it was, what you saw for yourself at that time. But I do totally remember that what stuck by me is that this guy has some type of vision and this guy has some type of mindset. I think he's really far from what he's capable of doing. I think he needs to express himself a lot more. I think he needs to like have a lot more confidence and take a lot more room. But I had zero doubt in my mind that you were not going to be like a failure, or that you didn't have good values, or that you're going to be like a bad person to work with or not fun person to work with. And that's literally what happened. So I'm curious to hear from your perspective also.
Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't give you enough credit for taking me on your team, because I look back, I probably had the worst resume like on paper.
It was your first job.
It was.
No?
I had never gotten a job because
my
in
God.
Dubai at the time, it was you weren't allowed to get a job unless you were above 18. So, and I had just finished high school, right? So I'd never had a job. I actually didn't get into the program at the start because one of the requirements was you have a car. So I didn't get in. I remember I called my dad on the phone. You know, he was in Dubai.
Yeah.
I called him. I'm like, I didn't get in, you know, but I really want to do this. And he was like, you know, I think you should just forget it. You know, my parents are always supportive of my entrepreneurship, but on paper, it really didn't seem like a good idea. You know, I didn't have the car. I didn't even have my license. I started researching like how long would it take to get my license. So I actually, you know, booked my driver's school, and then I called the company. I said, can I like do my exam like ahead, because I have this student works painting thing that I need to do. And they're like, sure, we'll make it happen. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know what drove me. I think it's just like going back to what I said before, just being uncomfortable in my current position. I was at Queens. Queens is a very party school. So, you know, you just go to class Monday through Friday, and then the weekend, you know, you go out, you party, you're out late at night, everyone's getting drunk, just doing, you know, like not productive things. And it was very fun for like the first week, first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks. And then I remember it was like 2 months in. And it was like we were finishing up class on a Thursday, and my friends were all like, oh guys, like it's time to go to the bar. We're gonna go out. And I'm like, guys, it's been 2 months. We've been going out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, are you not at some point gonna slow down? And that's when I realized, okay, maybe I'm, you know, cut out for something different. Maybe I want something more for myself. And so that's where I started, you know, researching. And when I found Student Works, and they told me, you know, you can't join because you don't have a car. I don't know. I was like, no, I'm gonna make this work. Like this program is cut out for me. You know, it's filled with people who have a similar mindset to me, and that's something I struggled with before with running businesses, like doing even drop shipping. Like when I tried to bring my friends on board with me, we just had completely different mindsets, and it's not to blame. You know, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. But yeah, I was so committed. I was like, I'm gonna go all in.
That's crazy. I do remember the feeling of giving someone a chance is really good. And I remember looking and being like, man, this guy's never had a job. His first job is going to be running a business. There's a part of me that's like, no, like the on paper, like you were saying, it made no sense. But there's definitely, I think, like a human tendency of like, I have a key here, and if I give it to him, he can take it. I'm sure he's going to do something with it. And it's so beautiful to see that you did do something with it, and where you came with that and what was created from that. Yeah, I'm forever grateful to, first of all, have the chance to even have like keys to give like that, which the key is basically like asking you, giving you the chance basically to run the business with us. But I think also realizing that the key is just the first step. Like, what are you going to do with it? And then you were out, and yeah, it all looks good. It's all nice and stuff. And then you're alone doing door to door at -20, trying to get some painting contracts. I'm curious, like from where you went from having no job, not necessarily having any experience in that, to a couple weeks later or months later, being in that position where you're in the trenches, you're knocking on doors, people are slamming the door at you, saying no, it's not going as well. You're not getting necessarily the results you were, and how that was for you, like how you took that experience.
Going back, like putting myself back in my shoes at that time, I was very introverted. I still am very introverted. Like my social battery is quite short, and at the time, what made it even more difficult is I think I was just pretty shy and just not that confident. I think so. I guess before I move forward, it's almost crazy for me to think about what my life would have looked like if I didn't go through the program. And that's why I'm so grateful for student works. Not even for the money that I made, but it's really for me the character development. It's yeah, it's scary to think about seeing like a life where I didn't go through that. But going back to your point, yeah, for me, what was the most like nerve-wracking thing was just when you look at it from like a big picture perspective, you're like, okay, I've never ran a job before, and now I've committed. I think I made a commitment to do 100,000.
Yeah.
How the hell am I gonna go from never doing any sales, never doing door to door, no experience in painting whatsoever? I'd never touched a paintbrush. I've never painted anything in Dubai. Like that just wasn't a thing. So yeah, when you look at it from that macro point of view, it's very intimidating. You're like, okay, where do I even start? But I think that's what I like. What I really like about Student Works is honestly the mentorship. So you were my business coach. I think one of the best things that you helped me with was just break it down into simple, actionable steps. At the end of the day, it's a funnel, right? So there's going to be a certain amount of people when you go door to door. Like let's say you knock on 100 doors, you get 10 people that are interested. So you get 10 leads. And then from those 10 leads, you call them and you get, let's say, 5 booked estimates. I'm just making up numbers here. But then slowly, eventually, if you keep pouring more people into the funnel, you're going to get sales. And so when it clicked for me, like it's really just a numbers game. Like you said, I'm a very like logical, rational person. I was always good at math, and like those were the subjects I enjoyed. When it clicked for me was, okay, I just need to go and do door to door. I don't need to think about the outcome. I just need to focus on knocking on as many doors as I can in the 2 hours and really just put my all into every one of those conversations.
Oh, that's crazy. Shout out to you, man. Honestly, from going to that to like literally just pushing through in those moments is really cool, because I've had jobs before, so I had a certain amount of like confidence for something. Like, okay, like I know people, if this doesn't work out, I have kind of like a backup plan. I feel like you also just put yourself in a situation where it was just like the odds are so against you. Like there were a lot of odds against you. I don't think you even fully believed in everything that you were doing. You're just going to like believing in the small actions. But I think there's a massive lesson in that and what you're saying, because like you can definitely spend a bunch of time thinking about what if this happens, what if that happens, what if the car breaks down, what if my dad says no, what if it doesn't work out. Yeah, but what if you never try? What if you haven't gone to that one session of door to door that would give you that one client who turns out to give you one relationship or one contact or whatever it is? That I think there's a massive lesson in that, and kind of like what we were talking about earlier around, what type of advice would you give to the people that are in situations where they're unsure what they want to do. Well, what you've done is you were not in the situation that you wanted to be in, found some type of, we'll call it an opportunity, a vehicle, a mentor, something to give yourself and put yourself out there. And from literally just taking action and putting yourself out there, slowly and surely, you created some real value. Making money is an exchange of value at the end of the day, right? You can exchange your time, but you could also exchange your skills, your expertise, and bring value to someone, and they pay for it. And you also have to get yourself to a spot where you can trade some value and not just simply doing simple tasks that are not worth that much. I think you had some type of vision that you wanted to eventually be able to have some freedom, to be able to travel with your family, create big plans for yourself. Therefore, you needed to get you as a man to a place where you can exchange higher quality value, and therefore you have to work your way up the ladder. You're not just going to figure it out magically, make $100,000 a year, or magically run a business, start this, start that. Like every single person that's gone and did the things that I believed that I wanted to do, or the dreams that I had, etc., had to climb some type of ladder and eat dirt. And I think what's cool with Student Works, that it tells you how much dirt to eat and what the results are going to be. So it's like, oh, okay, like if I eat 100 hours of dirt doing that thing, which was door to door, which I think is one of the best like skill developing, challenging things you could do between whatever 17 to 25 years old. It's going to challenge you. You're literally alone there getting rejected and you're pushing through, and you have to be smiley and you have to have good energy and you're freezing and your fingers don't want to go. But those are the steps in the ladder. That was our steps in the ladder. I think there's hundreds of different ways to build steps or to work up any ladder. But it's really cool to see how like there was a connection with that, and that is just a ladder that allows you to eventually create something bigger with that. Going from there, like running your business that year, I know it was not easy. Like there was a lot of situations. I'm sure you have memories of anecdotes or specific customers or, oh man, I just thought about another one right now. It was not easy. It was definitely like, I don't think you had nowhere near an easy summer. A lot of problems actually were painting problems, unfortunately also, which is like a difficult thing to work with because now you're literally at a customer's house and you messed up something with paint or you spill a gallon in the street. This guy FaceTimes me and there's literally a full orange gallon pouring down the street. It's going and touching the wheels of all the cars. I don't know if you remember that with like the hose. Yeah. Oh my God. But like what did that forge in you? Like going through, now looking back is like it's a small period of time, but in that moment it was a lot. It was like, fuck, this is crazy. I'm curious what forged, I'm not sure that's the right word, or what was created in you in that, we'll call it that one summer running that painting business.
Yeah, when I look back, I think the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing that I developed was just having a higher stress tolerance, and two, like the ability to take emotions out of things and look at things from just how they are. And then, that's something you taught me. I remember specifically, there's this one story. I don't know if you remember it. I'm not going to mention the names of the painters. We'll call them Bill and Bob. So this was in the summer. I had assigned Bill and Bob to go and stain a deck outside. This was in in NDG.
Yeah.
So anyways, they've been on the job site for 2 days. It was meant to be a 3-day job site. On the second day in the evening, I get a call from the lady who owns the house. She's calling me. She's panicking. She's like, Jad, your painters, they completely messed up my deck. They left beer cans all over the floor, and they left all their materials just laid out, and then they just left the job site. So I remember just my heart dropped, in that moment. You're dealing with so many things at that point. This is not your only crew. For those of you that don't know, in student works, you can have multiple crews of painters on job sites, at once. I think at that point in the summer, I had 3 crews at the same time. So that was really the last thing I wanted to hear at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. So I remember I was at home super pissed. I called the painters, trying to see what's up. And I'm trying to negotiate with them. And they're like, Jad, we're quitting. We don't want to work with you anymore. I was like, fuck. So then I remember I called you, and I was just in such a bad state at that point. I was like, Olivier, I swear I'm gonna pull up to their house. I'm gonna make them come back and clean up their mess and do this and that. And yeah, I remember you just credit to you. You were like, yeah, Jad, just hang up the phone with me, take 5 minutes, meditate, call me back, and we'll discuss. So we hung up the phone. I sat down for 5 minutes, did some meditation, and I called you back, and I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. That was not the right course of action. And yeah, I think when you're able to remove emotions from these types of situations, that allows you to take the best decisions. I could have easily gone and shown up to their house, but what they could have called the police. I could have ended up in jail and thrown my whole business away. Whereas there's thousands of other students out there. There's thousands of other employees that you can get. And at the end of the day, it was just a flaw in my systems that this happened. It wasn't just I didn't take personal accountability. In the moment, I wasn't taking personal accountability for it. But looking back at it now, those things shouldn't really happen. Or I should have had a backup set of painters to take over the job site. So I would say, yeah, that's really was my main takeaway.
Yeah, I like these lessons. Definitely. I think I remember also the situation with this front door. You
Yeah,
for
with
sure
Don.
remember the
Oh my god.
situation with the front door. And basically, they totally didn't go well. Messed up the job, bad expectations. But there was definitely a gap in like the responsibility. Like you were just like, no, I'll just leave it like that. Like it was literally looked like a cow. Like literally, like I
Yeah.
still know exactly what it looks like. Like it was messed up, and I had called her. I had to help to deal with that situation. I'm not even sure what happened with that door anymore.
I
Like,
ended up every morning from 6 to 9 a.m. going to her house like before the day started, and I fixed it.
oh my
Yeah.
god, that was so bad.
Yeah, that was.
But I do definitely remember like you had a challenge around taking accountability and like taking full ownership. I think that's a common thing that I see also in people starting out about like it shouldn't be like that. It's someone else's fault, etc. And there's just so much value from being like, hey, like, I made the decision to be an owner in this business and not an employee that can just clock out and go back home. Like there are extra responsibilities. And I think there's some beauty in having to deal with those extra responsibilities when you don't want to, because you just eventually realize that you have to take accountability and you have to take responsibility if you want things to actually improve. You can take back control. But once you blame other people, you can't control it. So I think in terms of just the mindset, understanding that I can only focus on what I can control. Well, when I take accountability from that situation, I can call back the customer. I can change my state. I can't necessarily change my emotions necessarily, but I can change my state or my physical state that will also help me deal with my emotions or see things from a different perspective, call someone I can totally reframe myself. And going through the year, you definitely built so much maturity so fast because you don't have a choice. There's a client calling you. You know what I mean? Like even if you don't want to deal with it,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the guy that's dealing with it. I'm going to help you. That's what I say. I'm a problem helper. I'm not like the problem solver because if I just fix things for you, you're not running a business, you know? So that was like something that I found a lot of beauty in seeing your growth from all these mistakes that happen. Had you learn how to deal with your emotions better, going from like snappy and angry to being able to be more calm, cool, collected, and look at things more logically, how you generally are. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just think that's like putting yourself in a situation, once again, kind of like what we're talking about for the young people that are kind of looking what they want to do, or do I drop out of school, etc. Is like putting yourself in situations where you're challenged, and what comes out of that? Well, you came out of that way more mature. You probably were more confident in yourself, better at communicating and handling problems, and those are lifelong skills that are going to be used everywhere. You're not going to have less problems in your life in 10 years necessarily, or easier problems, or you're just going to have more things to deal with that have more risk, and you want to maybe build a family and build a house and have kids and travel. And those are all things that so much stuff could happen to throw your day off. But now that we've built, some experience at the backpack on these painting job sites, like that is experience that's now going to be transferable to this day. And I still feel the impacts today. And I'm sure you also do, from wanting to, stay close to the community, even share about your journey, even talking about that. I love that. I think that's really, really inspiring from seeing like from an outside perspective, it didn't necessarily look like it was that great. But once again, like we were saying earlier, it's not necessarily about either what it looks like or the revenue or the money you made, etc. But it's the man you're becoming from dealing with these situations. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, I don't know, with these things, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Like, I feel like Student Works was perfect for that stage of my life. And now even when I look at boxing, for me, it's, when you're fighting in the ring, that's a whole nother level of trying to keep your emotions out of it and trying to fight, strategically. So it's, I don't know, I get goosebumps when we have these conversations because it's crazy how the timing aligns perfectly. I have some, this is going to be I'm so excited to get your thoughts on this. So I have some tips here that you gave to me during our time at Student Works that I still remember to this day. And yeah, so I guess I'll just go through all of them. The first one is, I remember this very clearly. This was probably like my first 2 to 3 weeks, like doing door to door. And I remember when I would do door to door, for me, the biggest obstacle was because I tend to be like a people pleaser. I don't like upsetting people. And so when I was doing door to door, especially when I was doing it like quite late at night, like from like probably like 6 to 7 p.m.
More like 7:30 to
Yes,
8:30 even
yeah,
sometimes.
probably
Like,
later
end of
'cause
sessions, yeah.
I would even on Fridays like take the bus
Yeah.
from Kingston to Montreal, and then I would only have the evenings to do door to door. So I remember I would do door to door, let's say for 2-3 hours, and the first hour would be going great. You know, I would start building my confidence. I'd start getting leads, and then around like hour two, I would knock on one door, and some lady who's probably like insecure with herself like sees me, just screams at me, says, you know, like, we're in the middle of dinner, you completely like disrupted everything, and just slams the door in my face, you know. So my confidence that was going like this just crashes, you know. And I remember, I think in one of the sessions I called you. I'm like, because you had told us, you know, if we're feeling down, to call you.
me.
And you know, as you guys probably can tell, you're super charismatic, so you know you're gonna hype us up. I called you, and I was like, Olivier, I feel like it's too late. You know, I'm disturbing these people. And you gave me this one tip, which just completely shifted my mindset. You were like, Jad, instead of thinking about the fact that you're gonna sell them painting projects, I want you to just think about the fact that you're gonna go out to all these doors and just hand people out $100 bills. You know, how would your approach change? And bro, that one like tip that you gave me just completely changed it. I was like, if I can just knock on people's door and give them, you know, $100, give them actual value, I'm not gonna have any, you know, doubt in myself or like be worried about disrupting them, because I know that I'm gonna be doing them a service. So if I can just reframe my thinking to be, these people actually have painting projects that they need taken care of, you know, and if it's not gonna be done with me, they're gonna delay it until the summer. They're probably gonna get charged a higher price because it's very last minute. So by knocking on these people's doors, I'm actually doing them a service. And yeah, that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm definitely remembering helping so many people with that conversation, with these types of conversations, and so many like small tips like that. And what I like about that one too is that I've held myself back sometimes from taking action that seemed uncomfortable, or that kind of like a weird imposter syndrome, like DMing people online, for example, if I have a new service, inviting people to my events, whether it was reaching out to people that I wanted to maybe hire for my business. Same thing with Student Works. And that tip is still the same, because I know that Etienne, for example, I sent 100 messages that day. The fact that he received the message, we had an info session, which I still have the recording from 2021, ran his business for 2 years and became a coach, and became one of our best coaches this year, 4th year, had a massive impact, so many relationships. If that day I didn't see me reaching out with that mindset, that would have not have happened. I think that's crazy to me that there are today situations like that, or decisions that we've made that are just a little seed in water that's slowly and surely growing, that we won't know for the next like maybe month, 4 months, 6 months. And I think that is a really amazing realization that first of all, you can switch your mindset in that situation from getting help. Shout out to you also for, you know, calling for help. You know, I genuinely think that in that space when I'm doing door to door, the other mindset I have outside of just giving them $100 is that when I'm doing door to door, I'm just out there to put a certain smile on people's faces, put a sunlight. I'm dropping out sunlights. So maybe you don't have any projects and you can't actually help me, but I hope you have an amazing day. By the way, I just want to say I really love the way you put your lights here around Christmas. This looks super amazing. Giving some type of compliment, wishing them the best. Hey, it smells so good in the house. This is amazing. This is really beautiful. I hope I can have a house like that in the future. I'm working my way up. You know, like small comments like that where it's genuine. Like I want to have a great life. And that's why I'm fucking out here knocking doors on -20 with this guy that we're like trying to teach also how to do it. And I also think that's like felt. So we'll go back to the people that are asking themselves around like the school situation. Well, what are things that would passion themselves that would put them in situations where they would have that type of genuine passion. And I had a genuine passion in that moment to whatever it was, selling a project, but it was also helping you and helping that customer. And that was like super genuine. Therefore, I had a lot more conviction. Therefore, I'm willing to get a better list of questions in my arsenal. Therefore, I'm going to use them in my power. Well, I think that type of process is possible for a lot of people in a lot of different situations. That comes from intent. I was very clear with my intent. I was not there to mess around. I will push this as far as I can so that when we're going back home in the car, I've actually done my best. I think like I'm kind of deviating from the original question about the power of asking questions, but I think there's steps before that. It's not just about the questions you ask. It's like, what's the intent and what's the genuine curiosity in your questions that will help you get a better idea of what questions you can ask and then ask the actual questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. For me, like what's a very clear indicator between like a beginner salesperson and someone that actually has experience doing sales is you often find with the beginners, like when they get put on the spot and they need to sell, kind of just like vomit out like a sales pitch, you know? And that was me, you know, we had our script. I'd be like, oh yeah, we're student painting. You know, we offer you a 10% discount if you book now. Make sure like you sign up before it's too late, all of this. Versus an experienced salesperson, like you said, they have that mindset of, I want to actually, you know, help this person fix their problems. In order to be able to do that, I need to ask the right questions to figure out what's going on. Kind of goes back to the exercise of, can you sell me this pen? You know, it's like the beginners start describing like what's so great about the pen, whereas you know, the veterans are just asking like, do you need a pen? Are you in the market for a pen?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the last kind of memory that I wanted to share was, this is so specific, but this is our first time doing an estimate together. So just to explain to the audience like what an estimate is, after you book you go door to door, you get leads, you then call them. Before being able to sign with them to do a painting project for them in the summer, you need to go to their house and you need to basically do an estimate where you quote them on the price of the project. So you need to take measurements, see like the condition of the current condition of the paint, and then give them a price. And then if they want to move forward, then they'll sign. So we walk into this estimate. It's an interior paint job. And I remember you were just leading this one. So I was following along with you. You know, every step that you were doing, I was like, okay, you know, I read this in the manual, like I'm following along. And then right at the end, like this lady pointed at like the wall. She's like, oh, I think there might be like something wrong with this wall. And I remember you were like checking it out, like you were like touching it. And then I remember you like knocked on it. You were like, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe like that's just like, maybe he knows something. He learned something by knocking on the wall that like I didn't know. After we go back to the car, you know, we're doing the estimate. You're writing up the quote. You're doing all the calculations. And then I ask you, I'm like, OG, like, why did you, like, what was the point of knocking on the wall? Like, is there something wrong with the wall? You're like, no, I just did that for like whatever reason, just to show you that, you know, if you're confident and if you can present yourself in a way where it's, you know, you really do know what you're doing, people just trust you and believe you. Because both me and the lady were sold that you knew what you were doing, you know? If I was in her position, I would have signed right then and there. I'm like, this guy can tell what's wrong with my wall just by knocking on it. I'm like,
oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I think like what comes to mind thinking about that is really like how much like the perception of you actually can have an impact. Because like, I don't fully remember exactly that situation, but I remember that when you're teaching someone a new skill, for example, sales, which was like, I was more of an experienced salesperson in that field, you were less, I have to find ways to help you find duplicatable little tricks that would make you seem like you know more what you're talking about and build more conviction eventually. Because at the end of the day, sales is also a game of conviction. Like literally it's like a transfer of energy. If I'm so convinced that I have the best product and I can solve your problem the best way, people will trust you a lot more than if you have no conviction. And yeah, it just comes to mind that there's so many small tricks here and there from I don't even know that I learned that from Lucas. I learned that in a book where I learned that. But I think that comes with, like, once again, an arsenal of different small ways to just add up. And it's really difficult to teach someone how to have conviction. So more like what you'll do more is like you'll teach them a couple things that make them seem like they have conviction. And once it works, that's going to bring them that the conviction comes from those small things. That's kind of like what comes up to mind, like tricks like that, or, you know, touching the walls, showing how we do the work. You look a lot different than the regular classic salesperson that's just like, let's say, outside pitching at them. We're really intrigued. We look more curious. It looks more genuine. So it kind of give me like a similar type of what we were talking about earlier of, well, let's put in our basket as many ways as possible to be able to put ourselves in the best position possible to solve this person's problem. To solve this person's problem, I need some type of expertise, or to look like I have some type of expertise. I trust that, you know, StudentWorks is going to teach me how to have the rest of the expertise I don't have. It's really interesting to see like the small things that can come out of like this type of moment, and that probably that you were knocking on walls for the rest of the year thinking that you were knowing what you were doing. But if that brought you conviction, and the conviction brought you to solve more people's problems, we're all winning. And I think that's really interesting. Wow, man, the specific things you remember is really cool.
It's crazy. I think it's just, even though like those memories are so short, they're so powerful that they just stick with me. I think it's crazy to think about. I wanted to just run some questions by you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it like rapid fire style. When recruiting operators, what are key skills or character traits that you look for?
A vision for themselves, definitely. Like knowing not necessarily what they want to do, but what they would want their life to look like. Coachability, definitely. You had coachability, you didn't have experience, but you were willing, you were asking me questions in the interview. You seem to have willingness to teach me. Well, if I'm in your position, teach me and I'll do whatever it takes. Because you had some type of vision, some type of coachability. And then probably like being charismatic, enthusiasm, like having some type of energy that can this person convince people to work with them. People are going to buy you before they buy your products or what you sell. And that's typically what I would look for, is like, is there things in there that would make me either want to work with that person or give that person my time or give that person my money? And I think I've gotten a really good ability to finding small things in people that if they're super coachable and they have some type of vision that's going to have them really willing to work hard, and they're, you know, able to talk and have good communication and basically be able to follow, because we give you a script, but it's not as much as following the script and understanding the process. I think that would be a couple of good things there.
Nice. What would you tell someone who's 18 to 22 years old and wants to build something or launch a business, but just doesn't know where to start?
I would go and find people that inspire you. So people online, whether it's mentors, whether it's coaches, etc. And I would literally start eating their content, and just like there's so much free value out there. So for example, I think it was Iman Gadzi, that you probably spent countless hours listening to that person, almost to the point where you felt like you knew him. You felt how he would react to things, and you understood what books or what podcasts or what mentors he had. And then you went to like what he would recommend. I think that's really inspiring, because there's people out there that literally want you, that 18-year-old person, to find that thing for yourself and to help you. There are good people out there that are giving out free value like that. So that's one thing. But the other thing I will say is that it's not as much as what you want to add as it's what you want to remove. Here we can talk about relationships. We can talk about habits. We can talk about certain types of beliefs. And the biggest impact I've had is not necessarily when I added an extra book or an extra podcast or an extra thing to my plate, but it's when I started removing bad habits and removing, whether it's like toxic relationships or removing beliefs that were holding me back. It's really difficult at that point when you're 18 to understand yourself that much. I did a test one, I think it's called literally like understandingmyself.com from Jordan Peterson. They just like answer a bunch of questions and it kind of gives you answers to what type of personality you have or what type of person you are. And that really helped me. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm that type of person, I'm going to go look for these type of opportunities, for example. But what really, for me, had a massive impact is finding someone that was inspiring me a bunch and doing what he would tell me to do. And then I found someone else. And then I found this podcast, the weekly call, that gave me like probably 50 book recommendations, man. And I read every single one of them religiously because I wanted to be like them. I was inspired. So I would definitely say that that's a big thing. I would also probably start to put myself out there online, whether it's whatever type of content it is, whether it's like sharing your story or what your goals are, but I would start putting it out there in the world, what you really want and what you're about. So, because you're going to want to find some type of community that you can surround yourself with. Maybe that's at school, maybe that's in the sports, maybe that's online, maybe that's a Discord channel, maybe that's a sports group, a boxing club, whatever it is. But I would definitely, once you found this type of person that can inspire you, create that type of vision for yourself based off your understandings of yourself, and you find yourself some type of community with people who can hold you accountable, that can tell you the real shit, and that could also like help you and be in this journey with you. I think like adding all these things together, compound that over a couple of years and you're a totally different spot, man.
Nice. From all your years of coaching, what is the number one thing that operators struggle most with when it comes to running their business?
Integrity. People love, I'm also one of them, saying they're going to do things, making promises left and right, having ideas and plans and goals. But I generally feel like there's like a part of you that gets some benefit from saying you're going to do stuff, like a dopamine rush. And that could be dangerous because if you get a really good feeling of doing it, of saying you're going to do it, sometimes that's a bigger and better feeling than actually doing it. So I would say that like what I try to coach people with their integrity is, we can talk about that for 2 hours, 100%, but that's literally, if there's one thing that I feel like from all the people that I've coached that struggled with a lot is how difficult it is to be in integrity when you're making commitments. Do you actually have a plan for it? Do you actually truly believe you're going to do it? What's your intent behind that? And being your word, you will become a person that's reliable. You will become a person that's inspiring. You will become a person that's trustworthy. And just that, my friend, is probably better than any business book you can read around what impact you can have in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your school, in your business, in your sports. If I can always count on you, I'm going to probably call you more often. I'm probably going to ask you for more advice. You're probably going to get what you want faster and better. Being your word is also, in my opinion, one of the most important like values you can have, because what you put out in the world has so much weight, and the conviction you get that when I say something, I do it. I will also just say, the bigger life you want, the harder it is going to be in integrity, like 100%. I've learned that from Chris Thompson, head coach at Student Works. If you want to be 100% integrity, go hide in the closet and do nothing all day. Don't make any commitments. Because if you want to have a big life, you're going to be out of integrity, and that's okay. You can definitely restore your integrity or, basically, it's not about being right or wrong, but I believe it's about becoming better and improving on that. There's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of tricks and techniques I've heard around how to communicate around that, but there's a genuine feeling internally that if I know that when I make a commitment, I'm going to do it, or I'm going to do my best to do it. And if not, I'm going to communicate with all the people who are impacted by that and get better next time. And that's okay. I'm not a bad person. But working on doing what you said you're going to do, you're going to outwork not outwork necessarily actually, but you can beat a lot of the competition simply by doing what you said you're going to do.
Nice. What are the skills that operators in StudentWorks learn? What are the skills that operators learn from running their own franchise that will have the most carryover into future career opportunities or like moving on to running another business?
Yeah, so the skills that are going to be most important for them to carry over, I would definitely say, I don't know as much if it's a skill as much as it's like a realization, but the realization that you're capable of a lot more than you thought you were. I think that is, there's no value to that. It's really, I can't put an amount to that, but that's like a certain belief that is probably even more important than the skill necessarily, of that there's a belief that you're capable of a lot. In terms of skills, I would definitely say like communication skills are huge because you can get yourself in and out of situations and put yourself in better environments by communicating really well, by asking for what you want and being challenged in your communication also. So communication, you could also put that into like sales and persuasion and asking questions, etc. And then I would also say like grit, just literally working your ass off. It's really tough. Grit, we can call it discipline. We can call it the difficulty that you have when you don't want to do something. And there's a lot of external pressure and you have school and you have your personal life and you have work. And there's so many things that just are like, oh, I just would want to just like not do anything right now. But having to push through and have that type of perseverance, I would say that I've seen a massive change in people because that type of grit or perseverance are just nuggets of that belief that anything is possible. If you have great integrity and you continuously improve yourself, if there's three things I would say, those are the three first ones that come to mind. I could definitely name a few more, like more advanced in terms of like leadership, in terms of like, just like the whole idea behind leadership and leading a team of people is really incredible. The opportunity that we have to do that. And I think all of that is created because we're put in this spot that you have just so much responsibility on your shoulders. Like, where can you find a job? We'll call it like a job that you're put in a situation where you have so much responsibility given to you.
My final question for you is, how important is community in your role right now at StudentWorks?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely in the top priority. How important is it? I would say that this would not be possible or not be where I am. I don't think you'd be where you are without community. There's so many like quotes and sayings that come up to mind about that, but the real value of having someone that you could rely on, someone that's there with you, for you, someone that's going through a similar experience that you're going through, you build real friendships and real relationships. And it's so important that that's what I discovered is going to be my main priority in my vision with StudentWorks is improving the quality of that community. More events, different type of events, different types of masterminds or workshops or conversations. But I'm really grateful to have been able to put myself in a situation to have a great ability at putting people together and having them have a great time. Whether it's through a business conversation, whether it's through an exercise, whether it's at work. Now with Separation Sunday, it's all about community. Literally. We're just working out. It's not about the workout. It's about the energy you get when you're surrounded with similar minded people or people that have some type of passion or energy or have good things to put out in the world. And I remember reading actually that first year, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the book. And there's one of the habits, which is like synergy. The idea of like 1 + 1 = 3, which is if we put both of our brains together, we're creating something bigger that we could have if we were both individual. And that stuck with me. Like I can go start this on my own, but if I have you by my end to cover my blind spots. I cover your blind spots. We're holding each other accountable. We're brainstorming. We're creating something a lot bigger. Now compound that and compound that and compound that. And that's literally what I think Student Works is so good at. And I have so much love to give to them. And I want to continue doing that with or without Student Works. And just this, everything that was created is the power of like bringing people in together and creating communities around whatever, man. For me, it's like the things that fire me up is definitely like running businesses and helping people improve their life and like fitness and having conversations, whether it's around mindset, whether it's around habits, etc. Accomplishing our goals, family, values, relationships, my girlfriend, my family, whatever that might be. Like there's a bunch of communities out there where you can chit chat. But if your question is how important is community, I don't know how all of this could work. This world could operate like that without community. If you look at cities, if you look at neighborhoods, if you look at religion, if you look at businesses, if you look at things that are going out great in the world, are a lot of them built based on who is behind that or the community that's behind that. And I genuinely have some type of calling that like I've been put in this situation to bring my best self to create communities so we can all help each other out and go to a better place than we were when we were yesterday. And that wakes me up in the morning and fires me up and keeps me awake at night. Sometimes I don't know if I chose that as much as that was like put onto me. But now that I've realized that I can have an impact with this community, which is right now with Student Works, which is local, Montreal, Quebec, and it's growing. But ask me back, we'll do a podcast in 10 years and see how our communities helped us and how we helped our community. And I think we're going to be in a totally different spot. And we're leaving a lifelong impact on this earth. And I love that.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think that's a great place, I guess, to cap it off. Did you have anything you wanted to ask me or discuss?
Well, yeah, I would definitely have a bunch of questions for you of like how you transition out. Like one thing that curious is like what that was once you left that community. I'm not exactly sure what that path were before finding boxing, before finding like I guess the podcast. I'm curious like what that was for you and what was that next thing that kept you driven and kept you sharp, because you seem like you kept improving. You're in a great spot. You seem like you're in a great spot right now, continuously improving, making new changes. And I'm curious how you kept that spark alive. What was that for you?
Yeah, I think so the reason why I didn't continue my second year in Student Works was I knew like for sure that I could make a lot more money if I did a second year than if I did my first year. For me, it wasn't necessarily about the money. There was some other things that I wanted to start doing. And one of the big ones was just start growing my personal brand. So yeah, I guess I started that was the first thing I did. I started creating content. And it was actually one of my friends who like suggested, maybe we should try boxing. And I went to the boxing gym. I actually called up all the boxing gyms in Montreal, tested all of them out. And the last one I went to, I showed up and my coach at the time, I called the gym before. And usually when you call a boxing gym, like the receptionist answers or, some form of customer support answers. I called my current gym and my coach just picked up the phone. He's like, "Hi, who is this?" I was like, "Oh, I'm Jad. I want to start boxing." He's like, "Okay, are you available tomorrow at 6:30 a.m.?" Keep in mind, I'm like a random person calling, So I was like, "Okay, sure." Like, I'll come. So I came. I didn't know if we were going to work out or not. So I brought my stuff in case. And basically he just put me through like the most brutal workout ever. Like he was just making me do push-ups on the floor. And then he would tell me, Jad, do push-ups. So I'd start doing push-ups. And then he would leave. He'd start like making a smoothie, start talking to other people in the gym. And then, it'd be like 5 minutes I'm doing push-ups. I'd stop. He'd look at me. He'd be like, "Did I tell you to stop?" I was like, "Okay, I'll keep going," So we finished that hour of training. Then we sat down after and we had a conversation like face to face. And he told me like, this was kind of like a test. I put people through to see, are they serious? Because I don't want to waste my time training fighters that don't really want it, And, I think I proved to him there that, I had this hunger in me. And at the time, I didn't even know I wanted to compete or anything with boxing. I kept, for some reason, I just kept going back to the gym. I kept showing up. I had this commitment with my coach that I would just show up 2-3 times a week to the boxing gym. I was training with him, and then he signed me up for my first sparring session. And I remember being like quite nervous about the sparring session, but I was pretty confident because I had grown up playing football at a pretty high level. I was always very athletic, and I thought that I would do really well because I had really good cardio when it came to football. So anyways, I show up to the sparring. I just get my ass like whooped, like completely. It probably was like the worst sparring you could ever see, like I just didn't know what I was doing. I gassed out in like 20 seconds, and we were meant to do like 4 rounds of 2 minutes. I literally had to stop after the first round. And yeah, I guess from that point, that sparring session revealed to me like, this is what I need to focus on now. I'm not happy with myself as a man if I can't perform, in the ring for more than a minute. I wanna be able to reach that level where I'm happy with my level at boxing. So yeah, I just stuck to it. My coach signed me up for my first competition. Lost lost the first fight. I was pretty underexperienced, to be fair. I had been training for like 3 months. But yeah, I think now the dedication and the work that I've been putting into training, I train 6 times a week. A lot of those days are double training. So I go in the morning, I do strength and conditioning for an hour. The traffic is so bad that I don't even get to go home. I literally go to the grocery store and I open my laptop at the grocery. Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. I work there for like 2-3 hours, go back to the gym, do my second session. And yeah, I think now just the results are showing. I just put in the inputs without expecting anything. And, I won my last fight. It was a pretty big fight. My opponent it was his 12th fight. It was my 5th fight and still got the win. So,
dude, I love that. Once again, putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation with some type of outcome that you don't really know where it's going to be, but climbing up your ladder. And I think that's literally this exact example that's now growing into a community, that's now growing into different types of projects. And yeah, I feel like that spark is similar to the same spark that you had at the same time, which is not necessarily a spark. It's just like kind of like you see that you just give yourself the chance to try it out and start. And then you're loyal, you're consistent, and you just fucking work hard. And dude, I'm so excited to see what's going to be created with that. Thank you for having me on, man. This is amazing. This was a great chat, long overdue. And I think we should do that more often, man. This was super fun.
100%. I'm really looking forward to it. Before we end it off, where can people find you? And if you want to just give a quick plug to, I think it's Separation Sunday, right?
Oh, yeah. So, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Olivier Grenon. And you can find Separation Sunday on Instagram, Separation Sunday. Follow the movement. We're changing the world with that. Time to take over.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Let's go.
Let's shake your hand. Yes, sir. The mics. And big shout out to the man behind the camera, Waleed. If you want to do podcasts in Montreal, there's no other person I would recommend than Waleed.
Yeah, hit us up. We're going to get you a nice studio.
So message me, message him. We'll have his links in the description. And yeah, thanks again, Olivier.
Let's go.